How would you like to get your work done with AI agents? CJ Powers, Mr. Creativity, will tell us how to do it. And please, CJ Powers, tell us about yourself and also how can entrepreneurs get more work done with AI agents?
AI Superwoman podcast with Lily Patrascu shares the world's most innovative AI tools and processes to go from technophobe to AI pro, attract leads, close sales, automate your business, enhance productivity, and deploy AI agents to do your work.
Well, AI agents are a fantastic way of getting things done, but sometimes we need to back up just a smidge and say to ourselves, what's the smartest way to get work done? Because there's really three different things that we can do. One is use AI as a tool itself. Then again, we do build things with AI agents, which is wonderful. But then there's also that third category, and that's the category of automation. I have a little screen here, if you can see it okay. For the listeners, basically what I'm doing is charting out the three different things. And here's the way you kind of look at it. When you want to do something to smarten up your business or to do something 10 times faster than usual, what we need to do at times is we need to be able to say, what are the three ways to do it? And how do I know which way to use it? So AI as a tool is the first way. And we really want to use that for clarifying things or gaining insights or developing content. Those are the types of things to do. So you can use it for summarizing notes or drafting emails, maybe brainstorming ideas, things of that nature. The key question that you have to ask yourself, though, is do you need help thinking or clarifying whatever this massive thing is that you want to grow into? So that's when you use AI as a tool. Shifting over to AI agents, the key here is that that is more for executing. If you need to get something done and you don't have time to do it, so you want an agent to do it for you, it's cheaper to get an AI agent than it is to hire more employees. So they can actually manage the emails. They can update your CRM, for instance. They can automate any kind of research that you need to do for your content. There's a lot of things that, well, let's put it this way. Anytime you go to do something repetitive, every time I do something the exact same way for the third time, that third time is my magic number. And I say, time to turn this task into an AI agent task. And that's really the way we need to be looking at it. And the key question to ask yourself to know if this is the right direction would be, do you need something to take action for you? That's the key. Do you not have enough time and you need to do it for you? So then the last one is automation. Now, automation is really kind of an interesting aspect because you really don't need AI for most automation today. Automation's been around for a long time. So when you consider it, anything that you have to have rules for or that's incredibly highly repetitive, those are the things where you can plug in with that. You can, if you use Excel spreadsheets, for instance, there's plenty of built-in automation there. You don't have to type formulas anymore. You can actually have automation do it for you. It can do file renaming. It can do just about anything you can dream up that's repetitive. So the key question to ask yourself, if that's the category for you, is the task always the same? And is there clear rules surrounding it? So I know I went really fast into depth for you here. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Tell us about how would a property investor who is looking for more property investments from other property investors, how would they use AI agents in order to make this happen? Or if this is too hard to kind of think about it, give us one of your examples where people have used AI agents in order to get more work done. Because I'm looking for something more implementable because it seems very generic, but I just want to know, like, in a very simple way, what can someone do today to actually get work done with AI agents?
Okay, so you were talking about the real estate aspect. What typically does a real estate agent do in trying to contact these people? Do they use email? Do they do phone calls? What's their standard tasks?
Thank you. So it wouldn't be a real estate agent that I was talking about. It was a property investor
Oh, an
who,
investor. Okay,
let's
I'm
say,
sorry.
has already like a big property investment project
Mhm.
that maybe he wants to do like some sort of like crowdfunding kind of project where he's looking for more property investors to put down, I don't know, 50K, 100K, dollars to complete, for example, a particular project, and he would perhaps offer a certain percentage to these kind of people based on, all the different criteria. So I'm
Okay.
assuming that the kind of tasks that a property investor like that would do is perhaps speak at events and then look at all the different places where property investors might be, such as in LinkedIn, try to connect with as many LinkedIn people as possible, perhaps send emails to their database, find some affiliates. So, and I'm not sure if they do cold calling as well. And
Oh,
also
by all means.
answer inquiries from people who are already on their website and wanting to know more information about the projects that they already have. That's the kind of tasks I would estimate property
Yeah,
investor like.
fantastic. Okay, so let me go through it piece by piece. You listed out about seven different tasks, although I may have lost count, but seven different tasks that, and if it was a purposeful agent, a person that has a perfect, I can't talk all of a sudden, a person with a purposeful task. I guess that alliteration is difficult. And they want to make some cold calls to start with. They want to warm up the clients or the potential investors. They want to get them the right information, but first they want to make sure they're going to the right people. So there's a look at demographics and so on. So here's how, instead of having a person running around doing all these different things, you can actually have an AI agent do it. So when you create the AI agent, the first thing you would do is have them do information scraping on the web to pull the data from LinkedIn, to pull the data from famous or well-known investor sites, to pull as much data as you can based on people that have already invested. You might also categorize that and have the AI agent sort it based on types of investments. For instance, this person only does single family homes. This one does multifamily homes. This one does business buildings, whatever it might be. Um, Maybe it's somebody that just pays attention to strip malls and, putting retail stores into places where there's new construction. Whatever the categories are, you can have it all sorted by that AI agent. So now you have this database where you actually know all the people involved in this type of investment. They're categorized by the type of investment. You can also have it sorted and sifted based on how much money they invest on a regular basis, plus based on their net worth. Maybe you only want to talk to people that, have cash flow of 500,000 a year, or maybe $2 million a year, whatever it is. You can look all that up. It exists. It's free. It's on the web. You can find all of it, but it's faster for the AI agent to find it for you. Once you have that, you can then put together a email campaign saying, "Hey, I noticed such and such about you the other day, and you appeared in an article called such and such, and I was intrigued by this." And as you build in that, you can make it appear like it's a personalized email from you, but it's from the agent, the AI agent. You can structure a 7 email string so that as the person responds, by the time they get to the seventh one, with each email clarifying certain things to make sure the person is truly the ideal investor for you. Once you get to the seventh one, it transitions everything over to you, and you are copied on the personal email you send out directly to them. From that point on, every point of conversation after that is with you direct, but the person has been sifted and sorted through the 7-step process. You know that you scrape the web for the information, so you know what their cash flow is, you know what their average investment size is, you know what types of things they invest in, etc. Does that help to answer your question, or do you need something down and dirty all the more?
Thank you. I'm wondering about the effectiveness of this route because, for example, I remember my previous partner was looking for investment for a company, and he scraped leads from the internet, and then he had like an actual intern send lots of emails, and it kind of led to like no result at all. And I'm wondering whether, you know, a lot of these AI agents, okay, you can set them up to do certain, menial tasks and, gather the information and research and all these different things. But does this actually lead to an actual result? And if so, what would you say are those kind of tasks that will optimize the process to make sure that you're actually going to get a result with this?
Well, I just had a doctor hire me for something very similar, only it wasn't for investments. It's for a special life program where the person would invest. Um, I think it came out to around $1,200 a month for 12 months for them to receive certain training, certain food recipes. It was physical fitness as well, where they came into a room and did weightlifting. I mean, it was a full-blown program. And the idea of the program was there's a measurement that he terms your life force measurement, and whatever that number is will determine how long you're going to live, or if your life is going to be cut short because you're a terrible eater and you're not physically fit and all this kind of stuff. So he took all the calculations and put it together to figure out, what do people need to do, how much oxygen do they need to be able to take in, and all these things are measurable. So he had equipment that would measure the person, and then he could track them every week and determine if they're succeeding or not. Now, he was limited in that he wanted to only do this within a 10 to 12-mile radius of his building. Now, the internet, as you know, if you try to put an ad out there, it's seen by everybody and their brother, and it's very ineffective. But we created a filter system for him, and it was a 3-step process that forced it down to only people that physically lived in that area, that had a household income over $120,000, et cetera, et cetera. And we aimed it at females between the age of 35 and 65, because that's the majority of who signs up for his program. They're the ones interested in living a long life. When we did that, we were able to, believe it or not, each time we placed an ad, it was a very specific thing to generate the leads. And it had a series of questions that you had to answer to get to the next phase. We got that within 2 weeks, got it in front of 160,000 ideal customers. Out of those, 750 of them wanted to take the next step. However, he could only handle 83 people. So he had plenty to choose from. He could have conversations with them. He could invite them in to show them around, and he could pick the cream of the crop, so to speak. So it can be very specific. It can be incredibly useful. The key is you have to test every aspect of every step. The 750 plus people that said, yeah, I want to know more about this, they're not all going to necessarily buy. So you have to be able to know what steps to take to get to that next level, and maybe reduce it down to a top 100 people, because he could only handle 83. So there's the limitation. The limitation is going to be on what you can handle business-wise.
Thank you. And what did you actually use to make this happen? Because I'm familiar with a platform called Apollo.io, I think, which is for scraping leads, but I can't remember if it's just for like CEO leads or certain types of leads. So tell us about what kind of AI did you use in this process to narrow down the kind of target market that this person wanted? And is it that once you actually scrape the leads, are you allowed to put them into your to upload them to your like Facebook campaign and so on, and target them through Facebook, for example?
Here, you cannot target them unless they have signed up purposely for something of yours. So you need to create a lead generation device that they want. And if they then put in their name and their email address into that and say, yes, I want this, and you have the fine copy that says, okay, this gives you the right for us to, or gives us the right for us to send you additional information or follow-up information, they know that ahead of time. So if they click that button, now we've captured them, and now we can send emails directly to them. And for him, we set up there were 3 stages in the first part. where it sorted the people through based on whether or not they were in good health, fair health, or poor health. And we immediately knew based on what they filled out. Then, based on what those different levels of health were, they received a series of 7 emails. And those 7 emails, again, were the 7 key stages for closing a sale. And each one was designed to do a specific thing, to learn certain things about them and to give them free value. We always want to give them as much free value up front as possible so that by the time they go to buy something, they've already received so much from you. They know the money they spend is going to be of value. They know it's going to be worth it. If you don't give them freebies, they're not going to sign up at the end. They have to know they can trust you, and they have to know that you bring value no matter what.
Thank you. I'm not clear though how you scraped the leads and how you got them to opt in. Like,
So
you still have to
we
target them somehow.
we used AI to set up a Facebook ad, and we had different versions of the ad, and the AI would test the versions of the ad until it figured out which one was pulling in the greatest amount of people. Then we chose that ad only, and we stopped promoting the other ones. Now we can, of course, do A/B testing all day long, where we add in the next ad and test it against the standard. But the key is to keep on finding the standard and then raising the standard. So if you're doing this over 6 months, you're going to probably create a new standard every month and find out which one is better. And maybe it's the current standard that stays the current standard because your new idea didn't work it very well. Or maybe it does 10% better, so you replace the old standard, now you have a new standard. So you continue doing that. And AI takes care of all that, does all the measurements and so on. It can do that because Facebook has a section in their business, the business meta area, where it gives you all the tech and the detailed answers as far as who the people were and what they were doing and why they clicked and all this kind of stuff. So AI can just pull all that data in and then put together reports and make decisions accordingly. So remember, using AI as a tool, it does whatever you tell it, but using AI as an agent, it thinks for itself and how to do it and how to look at it. So that's the way we did it. It was making its own decisions.
Thank you. So did you use something like Hyros, or what was it that you used that enabled you to use AI to actually choose, do the best A to B testing, so that you can choose the best ones, the best copy
Uh,
and the best ads?
I frankly, I used a combination of things. Instead of just using one software out there that does that type of thing, I used multiple little softwares that did different parts of it. It's number one, it's cheaper doing it that way. And number two, as long as AI can control it, it doesn't matter if you have it control one program or 5 programs, AI can control it. And therefore, you can choose to put your package together any way you want. Not all companies that offer, soup to nuts or A to Z on the process are really good at all steps in the process. You find out that, oh, maybe your mail campaign program can handle, maybe B, Q, and Z, but you need a different software that's better at something else to do the scraping portion or whatever. You can use, as long as there's an API connection, so you can use AI to manage it, you can pick any software you want. So, I mean, if you want, I can look it up and tell you exactly which ones we used, but I use different ones for different customers based on what they're used to and how they work. So it doesn't matter to me. I still use AI to program it and run it.
Thank you. So it's not that you use like an AI to scrape the leads off the internet and then you uploaded them to the Facebook ads. It's that you actually used Facebook in order to optimize the ads that you already had, and you used little softwares with the leveraging AI. Like for example, I've seen some people advertise WeTracked.io. I've seen some others advertising Hyros. And I'm also familiar with the fact that, for example, when you put a tracking software that measures how many people actually buy. So let's say, I don't know, Pedro bought the whatever book from your website and so on. Once you track that and you put that number, then it creates like this scarcity thing where people feel they're missing out, they're not buying right now, even though it doesn't make a lot of sense if it's like a PDF that can be bought like 1,000 times, but somehow it still creates that FOMO. And I'm wondering whether it's something like this, which is a combination of different AI that kind of leads to the overall optimization of the ad and the conversion of the page. And that's the thing that actually helps you to generate that scraping of the list. Or is it something else that you used?
My example I gave you was just the one example from the doctor. On the other side, we actually had a project, and I can't tell you too much about the company because they're a Fortune 40 company, and I'm not allowed to say what we're doing for them. But I will say, from a general standpoint, the key to them is that we did it all with AI only, and we didn't use packages. So, for instance, let's say you want to use ChatGPT. Are you familiar with ChatGPT? There's a
Yes, but it
gazillion.
depends which part. Like I'm using it in a relatively basic way at the moment.
Okay. A lot of people use it as their starting point where they just start to learn AI. And then they go out and find all these other packages. What they don't realize is that the core to all AI is the same. And it's just different variations or different agents almost that each of these packages have created for you to work with it. For instance, when I go out and do speaking engagements, I have a tendency to start out like I'm really nervous and stuff saying, wow, there's a lot of people here. Just a moment, folks. And I pull up my phone and I start talking to my AI because I created an AI agent called Spock. And I'll say, "Hey, Spock, how you doing?" And he says, "Oh, I'm doing great." And of course, they're hearing it over the microphone, and the people are like, "I didn't know you could do that with AI." And I say, "Look, I'm a little nervous. Can you introduce me? Can you tell the people what I'm going to talk about?" And we have this conversation that's totally interactive. Someone usually shouts out, "Hey, ask it what time it is." And the AI answers what time it is. So they know it's live, they know it's real, they know it can do it in the moment, and it can think for itself based on what I'm telling it to do. So we have done it where we just say, go scrape the internet, find these things, create a table. Here's what the table's supposed to look like, and give us the top 10 that you can find right away for us to test this process. And voila, we now have 10 ideal customers listed with their names, phone numbers, email addresses, sometimes their personal accounts, sometimes just their business information. And we now can have an opportunity here to figure out, okay, how are we going to move forward with these people? Now, once I've done that and I've found the breakthrough as far as the context of what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, then I can start telling the AI agent how to do it repetitively and what rules to live by. So it's the same for your audience as well. You want to test each thing out, each step, figure out however many boxes you need. Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized that the whole time I've had that chart up, I so much apologize. That was a lot of discussion with just a piece of art on the screen. Wow. Okay. So uh, when when we are in a position where we're wanting to test things, you just start small and you figure out how many steps you need. You build a framework for it, whether it's 6 steps or 299 steps, it doesn't matter. Just as an example, there's a medical device lab up on the north side of Chicago that I was helping out. They needed a report for regulatory reasons that was able to be global and go out to hundreds of people in like 144 countries, something of that nature. It took them 14 hours, a team of 5 people, 14 hours every week to create that report. They bring me in. I take a look at it from an AI perspective. Now, do I need to use an AI tool? Do I need to build an AI agent? Or do I need to just find a way to automate it? Now, in their case, they were scared spitless of AI agents, so I wasn't allowed to give them an AI agent. And I didn't want to just use AI as a tool. I mean, sure, that speeds up my time, so you pay less because I'm done faster. But what they really needed was automation. So in that case, once you figure out what your strategy is and how you're going to move forward on that, We build the automation, and now instead of it taking 5 people 14 hours a week to do, now the report takes them 4 minutes. Not only does it only take them 4 minutes, but now instead of everybody getting this 300-page booklet of data and you have to find and sort through it all to find your purposeful data, now each person gets a one-page sheet report of just their data, and it does this 300 plus times based on all the key people in all the different countries that need the report. So you save a huge amount of time, and they don't have to play all kinds of games trying to hunt down their data. It's right there for them. And it's usually only 1, 2, or 3 lines of text that give them all the answers they need. And it's their most powerful tool right now. I estimated that they save about $1.2 million a year because of the automation.
Thank you. Now let's take a practical example. Imagine a property investor who's looking for more multimillionaire property investors. How would someone use AI to actually generate and to scrape a list of this kind of people? And then imagine that the AI does the generation, whether they're using Apollo.ai or some other tool. Where does someone move forward with this? Like, what other AI agents can be deployed and for what activity, so this can turn into actual cash invested?
Okay, you just asked a question that has lots of steps to it. So I'm going to simplify it as best as possible so we can get a fairly decent understanding across. And if we need to go deeper on something, then maybe we need to pick an actual example. But right now, what I would first say if I'm consulting somebody is I would say, your first step here is that you have to understand what it is that your end goal is. And I know that sounds really high level and superficial, but with AI, it's critically important that you know exactly what your end goal is. So you have to write down or capture in some way exactly what it is that you want to receive as the final product so you know that you're working with the right stuff.
Imagine I want to raise $100 million for to buy a building, and I need, I don't know, 100 investors to make this happen of 1 million each.
Right. So we would sit down and we would say, what do you need to know about those investors? Do you need their first name, their last name? Do you need to know the name of the company that they own, or whether or not they use independent monies, or do they use their own monies? For instance, if you're buying $100 million building, the odds are that some of the people that are going to be investing in this project for you are going to be S corporations or C corporations, where people already own several businesses and they're just going to pull a certain funds out of each of their businesses and put it in from their holding company. Maybe another company, is into being a little more helpful from the standpoint of accessibility and things of that nature. So maybe they have a foundation and they want to invest, X number of dollars through their foundation. There are so many different things you have to know for the sake of the AI. You have to know what it is that you want the AI to answer. So we sit down, we fill out a chart that lists out the demographics of what that investor looks like, whether or not they have personal money they're investing, or one of their company monies they're investing, or with one of their foundation monies they're investing, things of that nature. Some of them kind of skip all of that and they don't own much of anything. They have oh, now I'm blanking out. What's it called? A trust. They've built a trust and they've put all their funds into the trust. So it's not their money anymore. It's the trust's money. So they have a different process they have to go through to pull the money out to invest in that. So you have to be able to be specific as far as what you want to understand or learn from the AI. So whatever this list is, you're going to have a list of requests that it has to search for and fill in. Let's say you're going to create a table and you want all this information in the table so you know about every investor to whatever depth you need to know about that investor. You then also have to know the context of what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. So this is a $100 million building. Maybe it's for just rental purposes, or maybe it's for a startup company and you're going to be the landlord for the startup company. And if they go belly up, you're going to turn around and stick somebody else in there. Maybe it's a high tech facility that you're going to build. So you're only going to be dealing with a certain market segment for industry that's going to rent out the facility or whatever it might be. That context is also critically important. The reason is when the AI starts to do all the scraping and stuff, the more information it has and understands, it knows, for instance, as it's scraping, it finds, oh, the, Lockhart Foundation, for instance, and they happen to have an extra $200 million in cash flow right now. They're looking for an investment. But if you don't have the AI associated with why you're creating this $100 million building, you're going to get them onto your list and you're going to waste your time because they only invest in certain things. And it's while they invest in buildings and they'd be happy to pay $100 million for your investment, they don't want your particular building because they only want to donate for or invest in maybe religious organizations or maybe political organizations, or you get the idea. So you have to give the AI that context. Context is critical when you're doing something this massive and this important. Does that,
Yeah. Yes,
do
yes,
you want
that
me to
sounds.
continue on?
Well, it depends if you still have more time because we kind of are about to wrap up, but I'm not sure if you still have if you still have a few more minutes, you can continue kind of explaining. So let's say once you have all of this information and you enter it into AI and you give it as much context as possible. First of all, how would you even know what context to give it? Because, for example, I have never thought about all of these different levels of accuracy that you need to give in terms of like your customer avatar. I was just thinking, okay, I'm looking for a client who has $1 million to invest. I didn't think about, okay, where does the client have the money, all these different things. Why is that even important? Like, isn't that their business and not mine to actually find out like what kind of money they have and which corporation and all these? Why is that even important?
So you don't waste your time. Uh, you know, I back in the day, I had raised the money for some movies that I wanted to make. And I remember one luncheon where I sat down and I was being introduced one at a time to 200 people that were there for the luncheon. And the sole reason the luncheon was put together is every one of them had a million to $10 million to invest in something. And they were looking for people with ideas. So I was invited in because I had ideas. Well, I could easily have gotten the entire project funded. It was only a $4 million project. And just the people at my table alone could have given me 20 million just out of their checkbooks. So the key was they wanted to know what it is that I was raising the funds for and what the picture was about, what the story was about, and so on. And yeah, I could sit there and I could say, here's everything. And now it's up to them because it's none of my business. And do they want to invest or not? That's the only decision I need to know. I don't really need to know about anything else. Well, if I'm making a show for middle schoolers, let's say, I'm going after that, age bracket. And the one guy sitting over there is only willing to invest in adult films, and another one's only willing to invest in LGBTQIA type films. And the other one only wants to be involved in documentaries. Wouldn't it be better if my AI told me don't sit at that table, go sit at table number 54 instead, because everyone there wants to invest in middle school movies?
That
That's
makes
why
sense. Yeah.
you want the extra thing. Now, I did put together, if we have time to rapidly go through these things, I kind of put together the 10 commandments I use when I'm looking at this as far as what you need to do to prep the AI. So you have to start with the outcome, which we talked a little bit about, and the why and how is there. And I can give you these sheets afterwards if you want to send them out to your audience. You need to decide which level you're going to go with. Is it AI as a tool? Is it AI as an agent? Or are you just going to automate the tools like Excel and stuff that you already have? Then you have to give it the context. And that's about as far as we were able to get, unfortunately, with our conversation today, is those first three. Uh, but then when we're talking about step 4, this is where we start getting into judgment calls and determining things based on, preferences and brands and things of that nature. Just like I just suggested with the table issue. If I'm sitting at the wrong table, I'm wasting an hour luncheon with the wrong people. But if I was at table 54, I would have been sitting there with 8 people that were perfect investors for my particular project. So that's something to give consideration to. Then number 5, uh, you have to really structure things in a way that everything is factual and fast and trustworthy. That's really the basis of the next step here, because you need to make sure that in the case of the lab I was talking to you about, the medical device lab, the reason we could make that 14-hour report done in 4 minutes is because we could have the computer do all the calculating, and it gave more accurate information than the people using calculators and typing in the answers. So by automating that part of it, we knew that the data was going to be exact. So you need to know exactly what you're working with and what numbers you're looking for. Then you have to determine how you're going to protect this data, because the moment you start scraping the internet with people's personal information, there's a certain liability that you have to deal with. So you want to make sure that everything that you're telling the AI to do is legal and above board. And that's why with the medical doctor, that's why we created the in-between step where they actually had to fill out a form and submit their email address and their name to get a certain response to let us know whether they were high, medium, or low within their health levels of quality. Then when it comes to designing how you want the AI to work itself, you have to decide how much of it's repeatable, how much of it's not repeatable. You want something that's highly repeatable because you want to treat every single potential investor the same way. You want to all ask them for their first name. You want to ask them all for their last name. You want to, you want certain steps to be taken no matter what. And then you have to determine what kind of measurements you're going to use to determine what's successful and what's not successful. So moving on, we've got 2 left to go. Number 9 is you want to pilot that small automation. You want to do the testing. Remember I said when I start out with my clients, I always do a little test of just 10, scrape 10 companies off the internet only. Don't give me 1,000 yet. Just give me 10 so I can make sure everything's working properly and I'm not going to lose out. You want to be able to build any kind of standard operating procedures you're going to use with it and so on. Now, keep in mind, if you're just doing this for one building and you're only going to do it once and 6 months later you need the building fully funded and then you're done and you're never going to do it again, well, you probably don't want to bother setting all this stuff up with AI. You probably just want to meet as many people as you can as fast as you can. But if you're going to have another building next year that you're going to try and raise funds for, et cetera, you want it set up with AI so it gets faster and easier every single time you do it. And then the last step is making sure you put fail safes in place so that you're always protected, your system's always protected, and the people you're dealing with are always protected. So those are my 10 commandments of how to put that all together. And I know that's a lot really fast, but it's amazing how fast time flies when you're having fun, right?
Thank you. What about, let's say, for this investor that is looking for $100 million to raise from 100 investors in total? Okay, what AI would you use specifically first to scrape this kind of leads? Once you have determined all the client avatar requirements, what specifically do you use in terms of AI? And also, once you have this data, imagine you have, I don't know, 20,000 of these potential investors. What do you use in order to translate this database into actual cash?
Okay, so I do rapid prototyping to start with. And in rapid prototyping, I want to test everything. I want to test my copy. I want to test any exchanges that happen. I want to test any searches and research that happens. And during the prototyping phase, I just use ChatGPT. Now, keep in mind, I've used ChatGPT so much. I've been using it for 12 years. Well, I shouldn't say it that way. I've been using AI for 12 years. The thing called ChatGPT, I've only been using since it was released a handful of years ago. But I've been using AI for over 12 years. Now, When you do rapid prototyping, it helps you to know how to structure everything and set things up in a way where you can move forward. And in the process, you're going to find out what segments of things or what types of operations you need to do to achieve your goal. Every company I work with has a different set of operations to achieve their goal. So, for instance, scraping the web is one operation. So, when it comes to that, I'll rapid prototype with ChatGPT. So, it will actually go out and do the scraping for me. But then I will decide, are there certain things it can't scrape because of its rules or its legal requirements or restrictions? And if so, what other software out there is good to handle that portion of it? I would then actually communicate with ChatGPT and say, what are the 10 top software packages out there that can do AI scraping? And it will tell me, and I will look into it and decide what's the top two. Or I will say to the client, do you use any of these already? And they say, oh, yeah, we use that fourth one. Okay, great. We're going to use that fourth one because you already have it. So it's not that we have to find a specific one that, oh, everything has to be changed so we can use this guy's software. No, we're going to use what the company already has so they don't have to have more investments in trying to put this together. We want them to be comfortable using the software they already know how to use. Now, it's possible that when we get to the next step in the operation, that we needed to do XYZ. And lo and behold, software number 4 also does XYZ. So instead of us looking into other software, why don't we just go ahead and use XYZ? I mean, that number 4 for XYZ as well. So when it came to the doctor, for instance, he had 4 software packages that he normally used. We were able to use 2 of them. And then we added 2 more in so that we could accomplish all the operations. Another company we had worked with recently, which is well, I'll call it a utilities company. They had 6 or 7 pieces of software, none of which had API capability. So we couldn't have AI run it. So we said, I'm sorry, we can't use any of your software unless we just find ways of doing it through an automated process. But each beginning step and end step would require human touch. And for something like this, you want AI to do all the touching. You don't want a human to do it. So we told them, here's what we recommend. And then we researched out of all the software out there, they had 6 steps in their process that required 3 different pieces of software. And we said, here's our recommendation for those 3 pieces. That recommendation was different than the recommendation we gave the doctor. Totally different software. So if you use ChatGPT right now and you said, I need to send out bulk emails to private constituents that yada, 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 investors valued at whatever, what software is best for that? And it lists out 7 different pieces of software. You'd say, oh, gee, we already use this one. Let's just use that one. Or you'd say, oh, well, it's saying that this top one is really, really good, but wow, it's really, really expensive. Let's do it anyway. Let's go for it. You have to make that decision yourself. I have done multiple AI projects, and I can say in every category of operation, I have used anywhere from 3 to 5 different pieces of software, and they all work as long as they have API triggers that AI can use.
Thank you. I'm not so clear though. In terms of, imagine I have now 20,000 leads of potential property investors that are multimillionaires. How do I use AI agents to actually leverage this data? What will I do with it? Will I send an email to every single person, like with a 7-day sequence? Or what exactly will the AI agents do with this?
Yeah, that's a great question because, again, unfortunately, there's multiple ways of doing it. So, for instance, if you have a CRM program and you put all those people into your CRM, chances are your CRM program can automate some of that for you, and you don't even need AI. But if you want AI to handle the full thing, does your CRM program, can AI access it? Do you have the API connection capability with your CRM? If you do, then you can instruct the AI exactly what to do. Now, what I typically do, if it's a big bulk type mailing, there's lots of them out there. There's Soho, there's Kit, there's MailChimp, there's Contact Connect. I forgot what it's called.
Constant
Contact.
contact.
Yes, thank you. Anyway, there's a lot of them out there. You find out which ones can be controlled by the API string that AI can send to it. And if it's controllable, you can have AI do everything. If it's not controllable, you have to find bits and pieces that you can do with it. Or what a lot of them are trying to do is they're trying to put AI into their system so you don't have to have an outside AI using it. You can just have AI inside of it do it. So for instance, with Kit, which used to be called ConvertKit, if you're familiar with that one, you can program all kinds of workflows into that. So if you have a string of 7 emails, and based on the person's response, you have an offshoot of another 3 emails per individual offshoots, depending on if they say, I have this question, or don't really care about this. You can decide if you're going to give generic responses or if you're going to have AI give a custom in the moment answer. Now, if you're going to do a custom in the moment answer, for instance, let's say the question says, okay, I have $1 million. I might have 3, depending on your investment opportunity and how I can make money on this thing. But tell me again, when is the deadline, and will I be able to have a 30-day period for review once the document is finalized where I can back out? Well, one of those 2 questions is one that everyone's going to always ask. So to say, here's the deadline, right? That's the no-brainer one. Everyone's going to ask that question. But the other one, 30 days to back out, yeah, that's takes some personal thought. So that's where an AI agent is needed, because it has to make a decision. And that decision is going to automatically cause it to type up an email and blast it back to that person answering that. And it's going to copy you so that you can follow up with that person with more personalized questions.
Thank you. The other thing I'm not so clear about is, for example, imagine an AI agent has already scraped this data off the internet without people opting in. Am I allowed to actually use this data to actually upload it to my Aweber or Constant Contact or some other CRM? Or do I need to do something manual with it, whereby one of like a real person would contact them initially without being put into a database and just say, are you interested in this? And then if they get interest, then they have the okay to add them to the database.
Yeah, it's at least where I live, it's illegal to put someone in a database that did not ask to be put into the database. So you have to have some way of clarifying the contact and getting them to opt in some way, shape, or form. Otherwise, it's illegal using them, and they can easily take you down. In fact, the laws are so specific in that area, especially in Europe, where if you go ahead and do it anyway, thinking, oh, well, if they complain, I'll just pull them out. Well, no, they could literally shut down your entire investment program, because you were using illegal means to raise funds. And it suddenly becomes a federal issue very quickly.
Is there any workaround for this? Because let's say you're going to leverage AI agents to scrape data off the internet. And then how do you go from there to actually being able to use it and add it to your database? Like what do you have to do?
Well, creating a lead generation thing is the ideal. You send them a notice saying, hey, such and such is, this free material is available. If you're interested in it, just wanted to let you know, because I knew you, did investments and things, and if they go to that spot and fill in their email address and so on, now everything you have of theirs you can legally use. If you don't have that ability, then someone individually has to write to them saying, hey, I heard about you. I had a friend give me your contact information. I just wanted to introduce myself to you. And if they respond, now you have a soft yes. And again, a lot of the companies like Kit, for instance, and MailChimp, they're not going to let you still bulk email them until they officially opt in. But since you now have a warm open, some of them will allow you to do a small email drop. I think Yoho does it where you have to have your bulk mailing has to have less than 50 people in it at one time, or something, some number like that. And once you get them to accept things and click on something for an opting in, then you can put them into the full-blown bulk emails.
Thank you. Tell us where entrepreneurs can connect with you.
That's a good question. I never know how to answer that because my stuff is changing all the time. I think the best place right now is to, well, I want to give you my main website, but we're literally changing it right now as we speak. How about authorcjpowers.com? Because there's extra buttons there that can get you elsewhere to my other stuff. Or my blog is cjpowersonline.com. Either one will eventually get you to everything. cjpowers.info also gets you to everything.
Follow me for more AI productivity tools.